Hello, it's Duncan. Having persuaded the Junie Claude Code dream team to implement the latest feature, we've been left with a little testing debt. In the olden days, we'd pay off that debt while we still remembered what we'd just done. In this case, we didn't do it, the AI did, so I suppose we'll have to work out what that was from scratch. At least this way, we'll feel in a little more control of the codebase. Which is doing some playwright magic that I'm glad I didn't have to write. These are the tests of editing an item from last week. They're a contract which implies that we run them different ways. The key one is this edit existing item. It says, given that we have a sample fixture, when we create an edited item, copying the name to be right banana, and edit that item, then we expect the saved stock list to end up with that edited item in it. And this works because Alison is an actor. Let's run those tests as the EditItemBrowserTests. So we set up a playwright actor, which means that when we run these, the browser is run up and we can see interactions with it. There we go. Now this playwright actor is the class that knows how to interact with the system. And down here we have the edit operation. There are two of them, edit, edit, then cancel. And the meat of it is in perform edit operation here, which was written for us by Claude Code last week. There's just one problem, and it's here. I've written a lot of tests for user interfaces over the years, and every time we randomly wait a certain delay for something to happen, we regret it later. Do we need this? Well, let's comment it out and run the tests. Now they seem fine, but it turns out that when we set this to true, we also pause between actions. So that if I run this with false, and then maybe use a repeated test in here and say let's run it 10 times. Let's have a look. There we are. It failed once out of 10 times. How did it fail? Well, as part of our test, we snapshot the page and then reload it. And here you can see that when we snapshotted it, we had this class of HTMX settling, which is added by HTMX to say that animations and so on might still be happening. Whereas when we reload the page, that's disappeared. That's the left-hand side here. The thing is that we have code. It's in this wait for HTMX here that is supposed to account for that. So when we see a page, we install some HTMX support. That adds this magic JavaScript in here, and then wait for HTMX runs an action, this thing that takes a page, waiting at the end for HTMX to fire an event that says it's finished. This code has been fine for a couple of years now, so it's a bit surprising that it's not working. I've upgraded HTMX to the latest version, but we still have an issue. So let's have a look in playwright actor and see whether we can work out what's going wrong. I'm pretty sure the problem is in this perform edit operation here. Let's have a look in detail at what got written. So the first thing we're doing is checking where the edit button exists. That's finding this edit button for, which is doing some playwright magic that I'm glad I didn't have to write. And then back here it's saying if I can't find an edit button, this count is a bit strange, but I suppose it means all the places the locator matched. If we don't have one, then we raise an error. Now thinking about it, if we don't have one, then we can't click it. And playwright would raise an error all by itself. Remembering that these actions don't necessarily happen straight away, playwright will wait a certain amount of time for an edit button to appear. So I think maybe we could just inline this edit button, and we'll just do that one, and then take this out and allow playwright's normal error handling to kick in. But what happens when we click this edit button is that, and I'll show you in the browser, here, we make an HTMX request that re-renders this table with an edit row in it. That's an HTMX request, and so we should really be waiting for HTMX around that click. Is it possible that's all that's required? Well, that's still commented out down there. Let's go back to our tests. I'll run this 100 times and see whether it fixes things. Woohoo! That's quite pleasing. And I must say, of all the UI testing frameworks I've used, Playwright seems to be the one that is least flaky. So that allows us to delete that and that. And I think while we're there, looking at the places we call perform edit operation, that's the here and here, in both cases we do this waiting for HTMX. It's here and here. I think it would be better to just take that out of there and there and there and wrap our action in here. think maybe had the code been that way in the first place, it would have been easier to see that it had to be done here as well. I think in context then, these, where we call it, this could be perform edit operation and locator click. So we'd rename this to be perform edit operation and then the lambda tells us what's going to happen next. It's a small thing, but I think we have button named as a more general version of that locator. And now I'm going to go back here, put that down to some small value, and let's see how we're doing. It is nice to see UI tests running though, so let's just change that. And that gives us quite a bit of confidence, I think, that it's doing the right thing. That's good, and I think we'll just roll that back to run only once. And then finally, if we set that back to show browser tests, I think we're in a position to commit. What does AI Assistant think we've done? Well, we have simplified the edit operations, we have improved clarity. Don't know quite what change we've made there. Oh, that was evidently wrong from the last check-in. And here we have made it so that we do not have to wait for a random amount of time. Okay, I think maybe that isn't refactor, that is remove random wait from playwright actor. Returning to the actor, we've got quite a bit of duplication between the edit operation, you can see it here, and the add operation on the right, where both fill in input forms with names and dates and so on. We could remove this duplication, although whether it's worthwhile I don't know. I do see though here, when we're editing, that we do different things depending on whether we have a sell by date. So if we have a sell by date, we clear and then type in the date, otherwise we just clear. Now, I don't think we have any test to edit an item to not have a sell by date, so maybe that's the first thing we should fix. We have two main tests in our contract, the edit existing item here, and editing an item so that it's unchanged, and then checking that we don't actually save the stock list in that circumstance. So I think we wanted to add a test for edit existing item adding a sell by date, and edit existing item removing a sell by date. Let's do the first of those. It's going to be edit existing item removing sell by date. Before I go on though, I notice that we're only actually ever editing the name. We could do with changing some more things, but if we do, we have the problem that our initial state is sort of hidden behind this a sample fixture. So we have to drill down into here to see that we've got a banana, kumquat, and helpfully an undated thing. So let's go back. Let's pull this thing into a variable, which is a sample fixture. And now I think we can move that to the top level and just make it protected for any tests that want it. Now if we inline this method just for here, then when we're in this test, we can see what items we have. For some reason, IntelliJ didn't import that properly, and I think in fact we can import the members from that. Oh, and a little bit more madness there. All right, then, so now we can see our first item is banana. Then here we can say that this is our first copy, the name is right banana. Let's go and change some other things. We'll say that the quality is a quality of, and we start with 42 up there, so let's make that 43. We have to double bang that because it's a tiny type. And then let's change the sell by date to be pars, and we'll go to the 9th. So now we've edited every field. Let's just check that runs properly. And as usual, we will go back to the browser tests, make this true, and then run those. Good. And now we can go back to our contract, and now we can see our sample fixture. Let's fold that one away. Do the same thing here. So we'll give them the sample fixture. We'll take the first one and we will copy its sell by date to be null. We'll apply the edits through the browser, and then that should end up being saved here. And then if we duplicate this again, then we can say edit existing item, adding sell by date, fold that away so we can see what we're dealing with. We want the undated one here. So we'll say, we'll go to the original stock list, we'll find the item where it dot sell by date equals null. We know that's going to exist. We'll copy it with a sell by date of something like that would be fine. And then we know that's the third one, so we're going to say that will be 0, 1, and the edited one will be last. In fact, I think that might be simpler if we were to go to the original stock list, show that we were looking at item 2, and in the middle of this we could say also it dot sell by date, and we could assert null on that. So showing that it didn't have a sell by date, so we're setting one that isn't there. Do they all now run? They do, good. Now we can go back to our playwright actor, and I think it might be clearer if we just pull this clear out there, so it happens in both cases. UI tests are a bit of an art. For example, if we have a sell by date in our item, we're always going to type it in here. But in reality, if the user doesn't change the sell by date, then they'll probably not type anything. So in some ways we're under tested here. If this was a high traffic website, I think we need lots more tests. But luckily this is just the admin interface. So I think if odd things happen, Alison will let us know. These comments are now pretty superfluous. Get rid of that and that. And now let's run Gradle clean tests. But just before I do, we'll go back here and we'll set this to be show browser tests. We'll take one run with them false. Let's do that. And one with true. I think that's worth committing with complete edit item acceptance contract tests. Well, I think that's probably true. And I don't think we want that because that reminds me I need to set that back to false. Commit. Just before we finish today, it's a little bit annoying this is an edit link and also a cancel link. Let's just get Junie to polish that off for us. Let's try change the edit and cancel links in the stock list page to be buttons. Okay then, not too many changes. Let's just have a look at them. The edit button, this is the approvals file for the rendering, and it shows that we are now using buttons. That's good. The rendering here uses button as opposed to A. That's good. Might also expect another one for the cancel. We're edit and cancel. That's the cancel one. There's the edit. That's the only change apparently. Before we run all the tests, let's rerun the test main. And a refresh of the page shows an edit button and a cancel button. Splendid. That seems to be the sort of change that Junie does very well. So I think if it runs clean tests, we can check that in with replace A tags with button for better semantic alignment. I mean, yeah, why not? The more I test through user interfaces, the harder I find them. For example, at the moment, if we click this edit, then this row here becomes editable. That's what we expect, but the whole table has actually been replaced. So that if we click this edit here, it cancels that one by dint of the reload that causes this one to appear. It might be that that's not the behavior we want, that we could click multiple edit buttons and have multiple things being edited at once. Or maybe that all the other edits are disabled so that I have to specifically cancel this one. And finally, there's no cancel here, I notice, although I suppose if I get to here and I don't want to add, I can just reload the page and things disappear. Luckily, we only have one user for this screen, Alison, and she'd rather save money on development than have these things perfect. She might like it a little prettier though, so next week let's see whether we can make good on our promise to add a little CSS magic, or even just get rid of these old-fashioned serifs. If you'd like to see that, then please subscribe to the channel. And if you're in Europe in September, don't forget to sign up to KTConf, September the 19th, in what I trust will be sunny Belgium. Thanks for watching.